These UFOs are out here, man, and I want to find them.
Perhaps no one spends as much time on skyward mysteries as Jeff Woolwine.
But when these lights come on, it's like somebody with a switch on a wall. Boop. Here we are.
Woolwine's tours are free too, and you're free to believe or not.
Jeff Woolwine, the first person to do this. I think he's as honest as the day is long.
He describes his guests as top-notch, credible, and says Woolwine is one of the good guys.
Whether you believe in UFOs or not, there is something here. And they were here a long time ago. And their sightings is recorded on the mountain.
Hello, and welcome back to another Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show out here in Phoenix, Arizona. How is everybody doing today? Glad y'all could make it. This is the only show where we get down to the bottom of what the Phoenix Lights really is, on how the Phoenix Lights actually is a part of Arizona's past, Arizona's history, through the cover-up over the last 80 years. Can you believe that? This isn't hearsay evidence. This is proven evidence on what the Phoenix Lights really is and what the Native American says it is and what the first park ranger of South Mountain says it is. And so, yeah, all of this stuff here on this show is credible evidence and probably some of the best UFO investigation out there. I mean, there's a lot of people out there with hearsay evidence and this and that, and not just hearsay needs to take a holiday. Proven facts needs to step forward, and that's what Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show is all about. Glad you guys are here with us. We have a great show. I am your host, Jeff Woolwine. Born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. Been seeing these UFOs ever since I was a kid. Playing catch football with my dad out there in the Arizona front yard of our house. And there's an orb up in the sky. Seeing lights in the sky. Going to my 5th grade school classmate who is a little Native American boy. One of my best friends at the time. And I was like, dude, did you see that light in the sky last night? And what does he say? Oh, yeah, my grandfather, right? My grandfather says those lights live in the mountains over there. And he points to the west side of Phoenix, Arizona at the White Tank Mountains. Oh, boy. Yeah, so I was brought up with this stuff. My adoptive mother loved the Native American culture. We used to go to all the Native American dances and Native American ceremonies and the museums, and so I was brought up into this, and I was brought up into the culture. My mother knew a lot of Native American chiefs or leaders, if you will, who used to come over to our house, and we used to draw kachinas. They would teach me how to draw kachinas and teach me some of the Indian ways, and it was great. And then in my adult years, I was seeing these UFOs in the sky everywhere I was going, so I may be going on a quest to find it exactly what these Phoenix Lights really is. And so, yeah, my quest and my journey took me, well, the lights, man. I started in 2004, and I was hunting these lights. I was searching for the lights, trying to figure out exactly what they were. Didn't take me long. Saw the lights on the east side of Phoenix, Arizona, in a town called Mesa, Arizona. The lights appeared right in front of me, about, give or take, a couple miles out. Where were they going? They were going west, heading towards a mountain called South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. So I followed the lights, and in 2004, I witnessed these lights over a power plant on the east side of Phoenix, Arizona, on the east side of South Mountain, give or take. And those lights were hanging there in the whole summer of 2004. Did many news reports, did an article for UFO Magazine, did a lot of other radio shows back then, and the end result was, especially from the news, you know, the news reports were saying we're all seeing flares. Anybody and their grandmother can tell that those lights were right here in the Valley of the Sun, not 150 miles in a place called Tucson, Arizona, at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. That was the cover-up back then. Flares, right? Flares. Nope. So I moved to South Mountain, about a mile away from South Mountain on the east side, because the east side is special to the Native Americans, right? And we'll get to that reason in that information later. Those of you who've been watching my shows lately know how important the east side is. Moved to the east side in 2005. Started seeing these things in the daytime. Hiking the mountains out there in the field. No one's ever done this before. You know, this is 2005. You know, many, many years later after the 1997 Phoenix Lights event occurred. And yet no one is investigating the petroglyphs or South Mountain or looking into the history of Phoenix, Arizona. None of these so-called UFO researchers is doing this information. They're taking hearsay. They're using hearsay to make money in books and movies and blah, 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 and not investigating like they should on what's really here. All they're doing is making a fool of themselves. They don't know. They haven't been on the mountain. They haven't hiked the mountain for 17 plus years. They haven't been out there. I did. That's what makes this information, petroglyphs in the sky, so credible, is because I have been on South Mountain. I'm a native. I'm not native to Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not somebody coming in from another state. Man, I live here. I see these things in the sky all the time. Right? I investigated South Mountain. I investigated the petroglyphs out there on the mountain. I soon learned through not only my sky watching out there and seeing the things coming and going from the mountain out there, that what I was witnessing in the sky and recording with my video camera was the exact same thing that was carved on the rocks out there around the Valley of the Sun. Not just South Mountain, but the whole valley. All the mountains around Phoenix is all carved with petroglyphs. And these petroglyphs are pre-stoked photographs of UFO sightings. How did I come to that conclusion? Because I sat there by South Mountain for a number of years, and I watched these things come and go from the mountain, and it wasn't hard to put two and two together to go out there and hike the mountain, explore the mountain, finding these petroglyphs out there with the exact same thing that we're filming in the skies today. Petroglyphs in the sky. Now, does it say UFO crafts in the sky? No. Petroglyphs. Why does it say petroglyphs? Because that's what we're seeing. The things carved on the rocks around the mountain around the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, Arizona, and possibly your backyard also in your city, are photographs of UFO, to us, UFO sightings. To them, spirits of the earth and sky. Spirits of the earth and sky. Not spaceships and little green men. And no stories and legends of aliens in my dad's closet or my grandpa's closet or anything to that nature, but spirits. And when you go out there and investigate the petroglyphs, when you see the rock art, In no way, shape, or form does it show or depict flying saucers, spaceships, crafts, anything to that nature. None of the above. I didn't find one petroglyph out there in my 17 plus years of research of anything on spaceships or crafts or anything. You know, I was going down that road. I was thinking spaceships and alien technology and men from Mars and Alpha Centauri and all that stuff that we've been reading from people with no experience or people who want to make you believe they have experience but have no evidence, have no proof. And they're talking about spaceships and crafts. I get it. Okay, why not? I'm open to the fact that there could be spaceships out there. There could be crafts. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they don't exist. I mean, in my lifetime, I have seen 2 things in the sky that could resemble a spaceship or a craft. Don't get me wrong. I've seen it. I've seen a black triangle. I've seen these 4 orbs, silver orbs. They're connected together like jumping jacks, like the kids, you know, jumping jacks. You know, you throw the ball on the ground and you pick up a jack and you pick up the ball, blah, blah, that kind of jack. I saw those in New York. I was living in New York during 9/11, 150 miles away from Ground Zero during 9/11. Saw the smoke, walking my son and his friend to school every day, every morning. I was seeing the smoke from 9/11. I was out there. I saw the towers before they fell. And I was also there during the no-fly zone. No-fly zone for at least, what, a week? And that's when these jacks going counterclockwise, going over our head, maybe 1,000 feet off the ground. Silver, maybe metallic. I don't know. Could be. That could have been a craft. But when I get down to South Mountain, when I get back from New York, back into Phoenix, into my hometown, in 2004, 5 actually, I moved back from New York from 2004. In 1999, I moved to New York. In 2004, I came back to Arizona. I came back to my hometown, Arizona, in Phoenix. When I started exploring the mountain, when I started hiking the mountain to get some answers on what these things are in the sky, because by now, I mean, I've been seeing them, right? So after I saw that thing, you know, going over our heads, and I had such a good look on it, I was like, dude, that's it. You know, that is totally it. I am, you know, since then I was reading books about UFOs. I'm studying Area 51. So, you know, I'm doing all this stuff, and you know, I love archaeology. I've been in archaeology for a number of years. I'm an amateur archaeologist. I study these things all the time, constantly. I've been an archaeologist way before ufologist. I can spot something, you know, man-made a mile away. That's how I discovered these tombs out there on South Mountain that we'll probably get into later in the show. But yeah, you know, okay, that was it. Oh my God, there's something here. And so I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing in New York, dude? Let's go back to Arizona and hunt these things down. And that's exactly what I did in 2004 and continued to this day. This is why I'm here with you right now in your home and living room, on your phone, on your computer, on your laptop, wherever you're watching this information from. It's from many, many years of research. It's not just me coming in here and talking shit, talking stuff. Excuse my language. Sorry for the... But yeah, I mean, it's not just me coming in and just saying what my opinion. It's not my opinion. Everything we're going to talk about today is not an opinion. All right, it's proven facts that I dug up and explored over the last 80 from the last 80 years. It's been covered up, and my research into this information between 17 and 20 years. So it's not hearsay. It's not just my word. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before. And that's the thing of it is that's the thing. I mean, it's like this information has always been here with us. It's always been here. But it's been covered up, at least from Arizona's history, for 80 years. And it's been wiped from history, and they don't talk about all this stuff. I think, the government's coming out and they're saying, yeah, we're seeing these things. We've been seeing them, blah, blah, forever. Right. We know this. Okay. And first it was like it's flares. Now it's balloons. Now it's trash, whatever. Satellites, stars, whatever. And that's the cover-up. Now the new cover-up is, because this is the only reason why people, because people can understand this, is crafts, is an alien technology, is crafts. Now, in some of that report that my last show was talking about, one of my shows was talking about, it did say that, it's just because it's there doesn't mean it's a spaceship, doesn't mean it's a craft. And that's good. So they're kind of letting us know, in their own little words, when you read between the lines here on that report, you can go back and watch that show later on how I discuss all that. They say that, just because it's there doesn't mean it's a spaceship. Right. It could be another entity, an entity. And that's it. That's it. So they know what these things are. They know that the majority of what the people are seeing in the skies now are not crafts, right? They're creatures. They're living entities. All right? They're like another race of animal, if you will, but not biological, if you can understand that. I know it's crazy. How did I come to that conclusion? By seeing them, by watching it. I'm like, wait a minute. Because, going into this, I'm still thinking spaceships and crafts and, a big, mild-wide V-shaped craft going over the city of Phoenix, right? And that still confuses me because I've been doing this for many, many years, and I'm looking into this. This is my job. This is what I do for a hobby. I love this. So I want evidence of a spaceship going over Phoenix, but I never saw any. The only evidence that I saw was lights on the west side of Phoenix, Arizona, and 4 people videotaped that. 4 people videotaped that out of thousands of witnesses. Nobody can film a spaceship going over the city of Phoenix going 8 miles an hour. Just doesn't make sense. Never found any proof of that. The proof that I found of what these things are was the history of Phoenix, Arizona, was the petroglyphs on the mountains, carved on the mountains from who? The first Native Americans, named the Hohokam Indians. They were the first people that lived here in Phoenix. So who ought to better know but them what the hell these things are in the sky? Because they dealt with them. They saw them first. They recorded them first. Right? Don't you think? So maybe all these myths and legends of the Native Americans, we should take a second look at, because maybe they're on to something. Right? I'm witnessing these things going back and forth. I'm out there on the rocks, right? And I see 2 guys, two stick figure guys, looking up at a flying snake. Right? And then I see the flying snake in the sky. The Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. He's flying around Phoenix. I've seen him many times. I videotaped him many times. And the evidence, the proof is carved on the mountains of Phoenix. Especially South Mountain. South Mountain is the main mountain. South Mountain was formerly known by the Hohokam Indians as Mount Sepoa, Mountain of Mercy. You see, all the tribes from all the nations used to gather here in this valley to this sacred mountain, formerly known as Mount Sepoa, now known as South Mountain, to witness the Phoenix lights and other creatures flying around there. Because to them, this was like their type of gods. These were spirits of the earth and sky. Not just spirits of the earth. Or I'm sorry, sky. Got that backwards. Backwards? Spirits of the sky, but spirits of the earth and sky. Why do they say earth? Why is that earth in there? Why isn't it just spirits of the sky? Going up to the spirit in the sky, right? No, man, it's spirits of the earth and sky. Because when the first Holocons people got here, and probably they followed the lights, much like I did. I followed the lights to South Mountain in 2004. These lights, when I went on a quest, on a hunt, I had my camera ready. I'm on a mission now. I mean, they knew. They've been watching me ever since I was a kid. That's what made me go on this hunt, on this quest, to find out what was going on. Because I'm seeing them. And some of the stuff that I was reading just didn't add up. You know, from all these UFO books, you know, with no photographs, with no, you know, evidence, just their words saying, oh, this is what they are. But they don't have any proof. So I had nothing else better to do. You know, I was a single parent. I was raising my son, but I also was able to skywatch, hike the mountains, dig up some information about Phoenix, all in a 15 to 17-year period. That's a lot of hiking on the mountain, okay? I did it. I was there. That's a lot of sky watching. And so, right before I moved to Mesa, I was watching the news channel, or I was watching Channel 8 here in Phoenix, and there was a Native American who works at the Pueblo Indian Art Museum. Now, he was up on South Mountain, right? He's doing like this little video, this little show or whatever, and he's talking about the petroglyphs, and he's explaining about the petroglyphs. And there's some people there, and one of them turn around and say, well, that stick figure man, that carving of a stick figure man, looks like he's looking up at something above his head. And he turned around and said, yes, that is part of the interpretations here, is that our ancestors saw and recorded things for their people and other people and us to remember. And things in the sky was part of that interpretation. Oh my God, wait a minute. Okay? Wait a minute. It's 2004. The Phoenix lights, everybody saw it happen in 2007. Of course, the lights were there nights before that, but you don't hear about that, do you? You only hear about 1997, March 13th. That's all you hear about. But you don't hear about the other lights that were going on weeks and days prior to that. Okay? And here it is, 2004, and no one has investigated the petroglyphs out there? Wait a minute. We have strange lights in the sky. Now we've got strange markings on the rocks out there. There's got to be a connection. So I contacted this guy whenever I'm in 2005. So I kept that in my head. I wrote down his contact information. For credibility, for those who want to look up my story, his name is Dave Morris. You can contact him at the Pueblo Indian Art Museum in downtown Phoenix. Tell him Jeff Woolwine sent you. He'll be glad to hear that. But that's his name, Dave Morris, Pueblo Indian Art Museum. I called him up, said, Dave, dude, I saw you on television talking about the petroglyphs. I didn't really, tell him what I was doing or my theory, because now it's 2005, and I was already making the news in 2004 with filming these lights on the east side of Phoenix. So after they said flares, I moved to the mountain, and I contacted Dave because I'm seeing the petroglyphs out here, and I'm seeing the resemble of the things that I'm filming in the sky. No one's ever really done that before. It was always a theory. We think the Native Americans were carving UFOs out over there, but really nobody has really, made that proven. No one has proven this yet. No one has taken the time to investigate that. So I did. That's how I was able to do that. You know, I made history with that. No one has ever done that before, is match these symbols on the rocks out here in Phoenix to the things in the sky. So I contacted Dave, didn't tell him what I was really doing. But I said, yeah, I'm making a little documentary on the petroglyphs. Can you teach me the ways? Well, we met up there. We spent hours up there talking about the spirals and the doorways and the spirits of the earth and sky and the giants that were here in Phoenix and the giants that were turned to stone over there on the Superstition Mountains. All this stuff. And is he talking about spaceships? No. He's talking about these spirits going in these areas, certain places of South Mountain that have the symbols of spirals on them. And these entities, these spirits, are going down into the underworld. And see, so he's telling me that crack, because there's a spiral there and it's next to this crack. The spiral's going clockwise is the doorway in, and the spiral going counterclockwise is the doorway out. If the spiral ends down, then it could be that crack that the spiral is connecting to carved on the rock. That is the emergence point, that crack. Or it's that whole ground right there where this boulder, where the spiral is carved at. If the spiral is ending up, it's a vortex in the sky. That's exactly what he said. He's like looking down into a tunnel, into a hole. That's what these spiral symbols are representing. Is looking down into a tunnel, all right? Into a vortex, right? Going down into the underworld. He taught me all that stuff, man. You know, I was taking it as a grain of salt because I'm still thinking spaceships, technology, people having alien babies in their closets, all this nonsense that I'm reading in these books from all these authors trying to get famous and make money off people's ignorance. So I'm still that way. I'm still thinking spaceships. Until I started seeing them, man. And they're coming now. They're just not coming out the window. Excuse me. They know I'm there. They know I'm watching them. And now what are they doing? The more and more I hiked South Mountain, the more and more I explored the petroglyphs, the more and more I got an understanding what was here. Now they're coming at me. They're leaving South Mountain, and they're coming right at me over my apartment complex. I'm on the second floor, out my kitchen window, overlooking the east side of South Mountain, and these things are leaving South Mountain and coming over my apartment complex. Look at my videos. Look at the videos that I've been filming between the 2005 all the way up till 2007 and 8. These things are coming by. They're flying by my window. So that's when, you know, I did an article for UFO magazine. Then I went on to do the pilot for the UFO Hunter show because, you know, Ancient Aliens and the UFO Hunter show, it was just an idea. It wasn't even a show back then. I was the one up there investigating all the petroglyphs and the history and this and that. And Ancient Aliens and UFO Hunter show, that was just an idea. Until I came around and Pat Uskert came around and saw what I was doing. Asked me to do the pilot for the UFO Hunter show. We did that in 2005. Then later in 2007, the show aired on the History Channel. That's when I did the show. Talking about the petroglyphs. And then by then, oh my God, I learned all this stuff. I knew more, in 2007 than I did in 2005. So I was actually able to talk more about what was going on here, proven facts. And they're like, Jeff, you can't go, because that's when I learned that these aren't crafts, they're creatures, they're living entities, right? And they're like, dude, you can't be saying that. You're filming some bizarre stuff. We know you're matching it to the rock art, but the public isn't ready for this yet. What? The public better get ready for it because the damn things are here, man. They're in the skies. We see them. They're alive. They're living snakes, living worms. They're shape-shifting. They're changing shape. It's clearly not technology. And the petroglyphs out there talk about these creatures. They show this. And the public's not ready for it. And that's the thing. That's the cover-up now. That is the cover-up now is the government doesn't think the public is ready for this. Not only of what they are, but their history also, because their history of these creatures aren't good. That's why they're not going to tell you. There will never, ever be disclosure. Even if one lands out there on the White House lawn, they're never going to tell you what these things are. They know. Of course they know. They knew ever since President Roosevelt. President Roosevelt, and it really looked into all of this stuff. That's why during the Depression, under that New Deal, he hired all these the CCC men, the Civil Conservation Corps, before World War II in the 1930s, and all these young men. He hired 200 people in South Mountain to go up there and live on South Mountain for 2 years. And what did they do? They blew up petroglyphs. They constructed mines. They dug mines, and they ended up pulling like $60,000 worth of gold and silver off of South Mountain. The mines are still there today. Maybe I'll do a show on that. They blew up petroglyphs. They blew up rock art. They picked on rock that had rock art on it, but rocks that didn't have rock art on it. They left those rocks alone. But the rocks that had the petroglyphs on it, they blew up. They made trails and hiking trails and picnic tables and this and that. But they blew up. They tried to get rid of the story of South Mountain. At least the ones down here on the bottom of the mountain there. The ones the public could get to. Because they were trying to make this a family-oriented park, right? And demonic creatures with sacrifice and being taken up, people being carried away by flying serpents and this and that, and demonic creatures just didn't fit into the family-oriented theme. You can't have your little 5-year-old daughter over there eating a hot dog, looking at a demonic creature, and people performing sacrifice on an altar table photograph. You just can't have that. So they blew up all this rock art around South Mountain. You can still see it today, man. It's in my book. We'll get to that later. Also, you start understanding the glyphs. Like I did, they tell you what's here. They tell you about the petroglyphs, or they tell you about the tombs. They tell you about the spirits of the earth and sky, what they did, what their history, where the whole people went. I mean, once you really narrow it down, this story carved all over the mountains of Phoenix. These mountains are actually, they're scrolls. They're ancient scrolls. They're ancient Pictionaries, if you will, of Arizona's past, of Arizona's history. I've been on the news with the archaeologists, okay? Right? Probably no other skywatcher has ever done that before, but I did. And this this archaeologist dude, I understand why, he's covering up all this stuff, and he doesn't talk about, the tombs out there on the mountains, and he doesn't talk about the gold that's out there and all this stuff, because he doesn't want people to go out there and start digging the stuff up again. That's why they made South Mountain a government park. Why would you do that? Why would you make South Mountain a government park? That just doesn't make any sense. What is the point of that? It's not, just looking at it, it's nothing special. It looks like greasy rocks, and it is a pretty mountain, but it's nothing special. Like the White Tank Mountains, now that's a lot prettier than South Mountain. Or the Superstition Mountains. Why did they make that a government park, right? Why pick on South Mountain? Why did you do that? Why did they make South Mountain the government park? Because there is tombs left not only by the Hohokam Indians, but the Mayans. The Mayans and the Hohokam Indians were here in Phoenix, Arizona. Why not? Back in the day, part of Arizona was part of Mexico, so sure. And the Mayans were here with the gold. And there's gold tombs on the mountain. I discovered at least 4 tombs out there on South Mountain. That is the reason why. And, you know, you go off the trails. They tell you to stay on the trails. You go off the trails, that's what the history is. That's what the story is. That's where you find everything. Stuff they don't want you to know about. That's why they made it a government park. Because you know what? If it wasn't a government park, damn right, I would be down there digging up these tombs, exploring it, you know, and uncovering what's there. All I can do is take photographs down from the mountain. I can go up there. I can discover all this stuff. I can take photographs. I can take video. And I can bring this down from the mountain. And I can present it to you. I can present the evidence to you. We're going to talk about that here. And let you be the judge. And if you can't get the Phoenix on your own, then I bring the mountain to you with my book and with my videos and my shows and all my cable shows I've done and news reports and radio shows. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and not once have I changed my story, because that is the real history of Phoenix. So I'm out there finding all this stuff, right? This is a year. A year goes by, 2006 now, okay? And I'm finding these cover-up tombs. I'm finding evidence of tombs, and I'm finding altars of sacrifice. And I'm finding depictions of giants out there on South Mountain, and I'm seeing these flying serpents, and I'm seeing, you know, what looks like, you know, these creatures, these Phoenix lights, carrying like animals up and people up into the sky, and I'm seeing depictions of people having what looks like a game with these Phoenix lights and these creatures in the sky. They're playing a game with them, and coyotes are watching, and there's actually an amphitheater. There's like a little mini amphitheater on South Mountain, and that is around this valley. And when you climb up on the hills, you can clearly see the old kind of benches that were there for all the Native Americans to sit on these hills and watch what was going on South Mountain. You know, so I'm finding all this stuff, man. I'm like, dude, what's up with this archaeologist, man? Look at this. This is clearly a tomb. Look at that big boulder concealing that, covering up, you know, the entrance to that carved out tomb there on the side of the mountain. What is up with that? I'm finding all this stuff. I'm doing all these shows, you know, and I'm bringing the photographs down. I did a couple documentaries. I took them up there on the mountains. I show them the tombs. But yeah, dude, it's like, wait, what is going? There's got to be more to it. I mean, because it's there. So where's the information about it? You know, that's why I decided to go to the downtown Phoenix Library in Phoenix, Arizona, to the Burton Bar, Phoenix, Arizona library. And I went up to the 4th floor into the Arizona room. And I just asked them, I was like, you know, it's like a type of government, you know, room, government office or whatever. It's where they keep all their folders of records of the history. So I just asked them, I was like, give me all your records. Give me everything you have on South Mountain. Just give it all to me. Give me everything you have about South Mountain. I want to know. Lady comes back with a file about this thick, man. Right? Woo. Open it up, and lo and behold, what hits me in the face? But the first park ranger, Charles Holbrook, from the 1930s. Now, Charles was well known in the park and recreation field. Not only was he well known in Phoenix and had a lot of pull in Phoenix, but also his journeys and information I found not only in Phoenix, but California and Utah and New Mexico. So all these other states knew of Charles Holbrook. There's stuff in these libraries there. Records about Charles Holbrook. So this is one credible guy. He was very popular back in the 30s. He was park ranger between the 1930s up until the late 1940s. And matter of fact, they wanted to bury him on South Mountain But he decided not to. He felt that people would probably go up there and desecrate his grave and stuff. So he was buried in another location. You can find that in my book. And but yeah, so he was very well known in Phoenix. He was very respected. All right, so much so that the Native Americans at that time told Charles about the gold tombs, about the tombs up there on South Mountain, who the Hohokam people were, where they went, because we don't know where they went. The archaeologist wants us to believe that they simply migrated somewhere else because it got too hot, or because of drought or something like that. Right? But if that's the case, where did they go? We can't find any information on where these people went. They were here in the Valley of the Sun for 1,000 years, and all of a sudden they just disappeared. They left because it got too hot, and so they went somewhere else. Where'd they go? We can't find any evidence on where they went. I mean, even when you and I move, we take our belongings with us. But yet, the Hohokam people didn't. They left all their people. They left all their belongings here and simply disappeared, vanished. Matter of fact, the word Hohokam comes from the Pima word, because the Pima Indians consider themselves ancestors to the Hohokam, along with the Tohono O'odham tribe. I think that Tohono O'odham is more inclined to the relationship related to the Hohokams than the Pimas, but what do I know? But that's what the Pimas say. The Pimas say they're related to the Hohokams, and Hohokam is a name meaning the people who got taken away. The people who are gone. The people who got taken away. Taken away? Where did they go? And what took them away? Right? So we look at the petroglyphs and we see interaction with the Phoenix Lights. We see interaction with the flying diamonds and the orbs and all this stuff that you and I see in the skies today. We examine the petroglyphs out there. We examine the stories. And we know the Hohokam interacted with these beings, interacted with these creatures. So what happened? Everything was fine for 1,000 years. Everybody from all the nations came around to this valley, watching the lights, watching the orbs, watching the serpents, played games. Obviously, played games with these creatures. These creatures would pick people up in the sky, and you know that one thing out there in Mexico that you see a lot, where there's people tied by their feet from a rope or a chain. I think it's a rope. It must be a rope. I don't think it's a chain. But it's a rope, and they're swinging from their feet on a pole that's about 50 to 75 feet up in the air, and they're swinging around. You know what I'm talking about? If you don't, check it out. But that's like this, I don't know what it is, an art, an exercise, it's probably used for amusement purposes only. But that's the kind of stuff that I'm finding out there on South Mountain, the carvings, is these people being picked up and being swung around like that by these orbs with this line, not a string. That's the reason why a lot of people think that these creatures in the sky are balloons. They mistake these things for balloons because they see this line coming down from them. They're moving in a straight line. They're not acting like a balloon. And your self-conscious says that's not a balloon, but they got that line, so it must be a balloon because we've been brainwashed into looking for flying saucers. We've been brainwashed into looking for crafts. So that can't be anything abnormal. That has to be a balloon because it has a line coming down from it, or what we think is a string. So it must be a balloon. Even though it's going against the wind, even though it's stopping and moving a different direction and changing shape and changing colors, and now it's going this way and now it stops and now it's going that way, but it's got a string on it, dude, so it's got to be a balloon. No, it is not a balloon. That string is a line, and it comes down from these creatures. It comes out of these orbs. It comes out of these serpents. It comes out of these flying diamonds. It comes out of the orbs, of the lights. And sometimes these lights join together with this line, making a barbell creature or UFO, or what do they call them? UAPs, unidentified phenomenon, aerial phenomenon, UAPs. That's what they want to call them now instead of UFOs. So they're making these barbells up there, right? And there's carvings of barbells out there on the mountain. Or, I'm not going to go there, but these lines connect, and also they change, they shape shift. Okay, so these creatures have the power or the capabilities of shape shifting. And what they like to do, they like to take the shape of animals, of sheep, of dogs, of serpents, right? They morph. In my last shows, I talk about how these carvings of what some people call lizard men are out there on South Mountain, and they have these orbs in the belly, and they have these circle in the belly. And of course, they have this tail. It's a stick figure man, what looks like a man. He's in the appeasement pose. His hands are up in the air, and his legs are down. He's got this tail, and there's a circle in his belly. Well, that circle is the orb. I've seen this. I've witnessed this. I've witnessed this orb in the sky change. These lines come up out of them, and they either change into a serpent. Me and my wife was out there on the mountain a few years ago, and this light appeared in the sky, and I started filming it, and Pam, she's got the binoculars going on, and out comes from this light is this black serpent. This black serpent comes out of this light, out of a vortex, out of a spiral vortex, whatever, in the sky. It wasn't a spiral, but it was a light, all right? And it came out of that light, and it's a serpent, and Pam's freaking out. Oh, my God, it's a snake. It was, man. It was a serpent, right? And then it morphed. It changed. It shapeshifted into what looked like a stick figure man that we see of the petroglyphs on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona. It changed shape. And now it looks like a stick figure man with his hand on his waist and two things coming out of his head, and it goes over the mountain and then disappears down below a hill. I have all this on film. Look at my website. Photograph on my website there. And the video. Flying serpent. Quetzalcoatl, the flying serpent. That's what we're dealing with here. And so when they say, well, what happened to these people? And they say, well, the holocaust mean the people who got taken away. Not the people who got hot and decided to leave. What's the Indian name for that? The people who got hot and decided to leave. Nope. Holocaust. The people who got taken away. As a matter of fact, Anasazi Indians is a Hopi name, is a Hopi word for not my people. Did you know that? Anasazi is a Hopi name for meaning not my people. We might get into that on a later show. So the Holocaust lived here for 1,000 years. It wasn't a dried up desert as it is now. There was tons of grass and trees and waterfalls. There's evidence of water all over this valley. Look at the waterfalls on the mountains of South Mountain. Look at the dried up waterfalls. Look at the dried up streams. If you're ever hiking or exploring South Mountain, you can see there was tons of water. And I've hiked high up on those mountains, and there's weathering up on the mountains, meaning water has actually covered the Valley of the Sun, has covered Phoenix. That's one of the legends, if you will, about the Superstition Mountains. Now, there's a lot of people that think, oh, there's gold out there on the Superstition Mountains from the Lost Dutchman's gold. But from the Native American point, that mountain goes way back. Actually, that mountain was ruled and is still ruled by the Apaches. That was the Apaches' home. Superstition Mountain is. That's where the Apaches continue to be at also, right? They're still there. They're still guarding the gold that's there. It's funny too. It's funny, like when you do the history on the Superstition Mountains, all these people looking for this gold, they you know what they do? They tell the media first. They tell people about it. I got this map, and I'm gonna go look for the gold on the Superstition Mountains. And what happens? They're never seen again. Or they find their bodies being thrown off a cliff and the map is missing. I think the latest people who went up there on the mountain looking for the Lost Dutchman's gold, I think, what year was that? Let me think. 97? 98, I think it was. These three people said they had a map to the Lost Dutchman's gold mine, and they went to the news about it, and they're going to go find the gold. And what happened? They came up missing. To this day, they're gone. They found their cars out there in the parking lot, but they never found them or any trace of them. And you know why? Because the Apaches, this is my study of the mountain, studying Superstition Mountain and the myths and legends and stuff. The Apaches are still watching that area. They know exactly where it's at. There's an Apache tribe that lives up there on the Superstition Mountains. You won't ever see them, but they're there. They're guarding that place, and whoever gets close, they kill them. They kill them. So don't go looking for the Superstition Mountains. Okay, there's a lot of false leads, to that gold. Okay, so there's a lot of false leads. And there's some people that even say that the gold's not even up there. But, doing a real serious investigation like I have, I learned that the Apaches are still watching up there. And they don't want people to get a hold of that gold. And so they kill off anybody that gets close. But beyond that, the Lost Dutchman's gold mine, that mountain is more important in history than some, German Dutch guy going up there and finding all this gold. This history goes back thousands of years on that mountain. The story on that mountain is when the giants were here. Now, I found evidence of giants in Phoenix, Arizona. Some of my past shows, I talk about the giants. I talk about the petroglyphs that are carving with, or that depicting with giants. I talk about how the giants are concealing these tombs with these big boulders, and how the giants have been picking up these huge stone slabs of boulders that must weigh a few tons and stacking them, into a wall or a equinox and solstice marker oriented towards the summer sunrise and the equinox and the solstice. And so I found evidence of the giants there, and the story on that mountain says that when the waters were coming, the flood waters were coming, probably the waters of Noah, to wipe out the giants were afraid. So the lead giant told his people to come up on this rock, come up on this boulder over here. Get up on that boulder. I'm going to rescue you. I'm going to save you. I'm going to get you higher than these waters that are coming. He used his power to raise that mountain up, but the water kept coming. This is Phoenix, Arizona, folks. He used his powers more to raise that rock up, but the water kept coming. He used his powers to raise that boulder up, but the water kept coming. He raised that boulder now and as high as the tallest mountain, but the water was still coming. So in his last bit of strength, in his last desperation, because he didn't want his people to die and drown, he turned them all to stone. He immortalized them. He turned them all to stone. And when that happened, that's when the water stopped. The water stopped after He turned them to stone. And now when you look upon the Superstition Mountains, to this day you can see the watermark line where the water was settled. You can still see that water line there. And when you look up, you can still see the giants turned in stone. They're still there. The giants are still there, turned to stone on the mountains of the Superstition Mountains. You know, not only Superstition Mountains, but you know, there's a mountain in Phoenix called Camelback Mountain, and there's a giant turned to stone there. Some people call it Mummy Mountain because it looks like maybe a mummy up there, but it's a giant. He's turned to stone. Now it's not just in Phoenix. I mean, it's all around, you know, especially the United States, you know, the Western Hemisphere mostly. I mean, look at Bryce Canyon. I mean, Bryce Canyon, all that is giants turned to stone. What is that, Utah? Yeah. So this you know, legend or myth of giants being turned to stone, I mean, it's not just in Phoenix. I mean, it's all over, you know, the Western Hemisphere, the west side of United States. Probably goes in deeper around the world, you know, because it just didn't happen here, you know, it happened all over the place. That's how special that mountain is. But everyone's just looking at the superstitions as the Lost Dutchman's gold mine. But there's more history to that. Just like with the history of Phoenix, Arizona, and what these petroglyphs talk about. So the Native Americans at that time told Charles about who the Hohokam people were and what happened to them. Talked about the sacrifice. Okay. Now here's what the story goes. Now I found all this information in that folder I was telling you about of Charles Holbrook's writings. Charles Holbrook wrote this. Matter of fact, he passed out flyers. I do tours up on South Mountain. I talk about the petroglyphs. We do UFO sky watching out there. And, you know, so Charles Holbrook did that also, not sky watching, but he taught people the petroglyphs and stuff like that. And he passed out this little flyer. You can find that flyer on my website. And on the cover of it, what does he say? The lost city of Cibola. Oh my God. Why would he say that? Why would he call this valley, this mountain, the lost city of Cibola? The lost city of gold. Isn't that what the Spanish conquistadors were looking for? The 7 cities of gold, the 7 cities of Cibola? Well, obviously from Charles Holbrook, a very credible man in the park and recreation field who learned everything from the Native Americans at that time, that this was part of the lost city of gold, the lost city of Cibola. That's why the Spanish conquistadors were here. Now, the archaeologist doesn't want to admit that the Spanish even came this far. They'll tell you that they went another route. But my investigations and Charles Holbrook, you know, proves that they were. You can read about all this in my book. We'll talk about that probably later. But you can find the evidence of the Spanish being here on South Mountain. You can see the artifacts that I discovered on South Mountain from the Spanish conquistadors 400 years ago. From the Spanish. You can see the artifacts I dug up out there. No, I didn't take them. I just photographed them and left them there. So I'm not breaking any laws. I'm bringing the information to you. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And so, why would he say the lost city of Cibola, you know? 7 cities of gold. This is one area. And so, the natives tell Charles, okay, so when the Native Americans, when our people first got here, they were called, you know, the Hohokam Indians. Later, they were called the Hohokams. But this tribe of people, more than likely, I mean, I can't see any other reason why they would come here. You know, maybe for the water, but, you know, it's just, that to me, that doesn't make any sense, you know. I mean, it would have to be, you know, because of that mountain. They followed the Phoenix Lights. They followed the lights to this mountain. They settled here for 1,000 years. They worshiped these beings as God. They performed sacrifice unto these beings. Yes, there's altars out there. Charles Holbrook talks about this. And so this went on for 1,000 years, right? And Charles Holbrook writes, you know, all the nations, all the tribes came around, and the thing of it was a handful of corn for a handful of gold, you know. This was a major spot back in the day, 2,000 years ago. We're going to go back at least 2,000, maybe 1,000, but give or take a couple thousand years ago. The Hocoms were here the last 1,000 years, but this has been going on for ever since the beginning of time. Every fourth world, or every world that comes around, the Native Americans say we're in different worlds. So each time the world changes, these beings are here. Man interacts with these creatures, interacts with these beings. Remember that, because we're going to talk about that a little bit later on why. So 1,000 years goes by, and they're worshiping these things. They see the phoenix lights. They're doing sacrifice, this and that. And then all of a sudden, for reasons unknown, I haven't figured out why, and there's no explanation on this, but the sacrificing stopped. And when that did, that's when this tropical landscape of this valley started to dry up. That's when everything died, is when the sacrificing stopped. And everybody was dying. There wasn't any water. Their crops were dying. It was getting hot. And then all of a sudden, some Native Americans say that the devil came from the east and took these people away. Some say a great meteor came in and wiped them all out. But the evidence on the mountain, as far as the petroglyphs, show this line. Remember I was talking about the lines, not the strings. Everybody's mistaking, but these lines. I think I have a photograph. We're going to show this today. Picking people up and carrying them off into the sky. So these lights, these creatures, these UFOs that we see in the skies today, these entities, not crafts, not Alpha Centauri and little green guys or gray men and little alien babies living in people's closets, but these living creatures, these living entities came from the east and took these people away. Now, the story goes on to say that there were survivors to this, and they were afraid, and they hid in the caves. They ran in the caves because they were afraid. They were watching what was going on. And when it was all over with, the leaders that were still around, their people came up and was yelling at the leaders, "Why did you stop the sacrifice? Look what happened to our land. It's all dried up. There's no water. There's no trees. There's no grass. The water has stopped down from the mountains. Now our people got taken away. You upsetted the spirits." And the leaders knew that it was wrong to stop the sacrifice. So they committed suicide on the sacrificing tables. And the rest of them, they gathered up the gold. Man, they knew that this land, that Phoenix, that now known as Phoenix, Arizona, this place was cursed, man. So they're going to hide the gold. They buried the gold in these tombs, all right? And they vowed never to step foot into this land again, never to come into this valley of the sun, because now this land is cursed. And whoever was going to continue to live in this valley, they were going to be, eventually they would have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky. So they buried the gold. And Charles Holbrook writes in his journals, he says, the gold was as high as the tallest saguaro cactus and was as round as the sun. And they buried all this stuff in these tombs of South Mountain, and they went back to their homeland, vowing never to step foot into this cursed land again. Now, why would Charles Holbrook write all that, right? A respected man, a respected park ranger, not only in Phoenix, but California and Utah and New Mexico. And why would he write all this if he didn't think it was true? Matter of fact, when he passed away, his son wrote a book about his father and what his father did, even more in depth of what his father did. That's how I learned. His father used to chase people away from the gold on South Mountain. From the tombs. And that's what it was, too, because Charles wrote all this, he handed this out. He handed this information out. He told people this in the 1930s. He did tours. He was probably showing people where some of these tombs were. And that was the downfall of everything. That's what kind of screwed things up, because then, the people going in there looking for gold, digging stuff up, destroying, monuments, vandalism, up there. That's why he didn't want to be buried up there, because he was afraid that people were going to go up there and vandalize his grave, And so, yeah, that was his downfall. There was a rumor of the 4 crosses up there on South Mountain, and made by the Spanish conquistadors. And it was just a rumor until Charles, in his writings, writes that one day he was up on a high hill and he looked down at the sun-blackened rocks, and lo and behold, before him he saw these huge crosses. He writes that it must have taken a mighty army to construct these crosses, because apparently these crosses were huge. Well, at that time, the Parks and Recreation people, the city of Phoenix, made a new map of South Mountain, and on that map they put this hill. They depicted a little hill right there. Charles Holbrook made a mistake, and he told the Parks and Recreation people, he told the city of Phoenix, you know what's on that hill? The 4 crosses from the Spanish conquistadors. That's what's on that hill. Well, when word got word of that, and all the information he's been saying for the last 2 or 3 years about how there's gold buried up there on the mountains, some vandals, some gold seekers went up there, destroyed the crosses, dug a big hole, found no gold, and wasted the crosses, wasted history. Now, Charles Holbrook was pissed, and he tried to get the city of Phoenix to rebuild those crosses. He got into a big court battle over it, and then the city of Phoenix says, no, we're not going to do that. But if you and your friends want to go up there and rebuild the crosses, you're more than welcome to. So in his journals and what his son writes in his book, says that all the people from all sorts of that area, the Boy Scouts and all the kids, and he said that that the mothers and the daughters were making sandwiches and lemonade at the bottom of the hill, and all the men and the boys were going up there carrying rocks and concrete and rebuilding these crosses, and it says it looked like a bunch of mighty army ants, a bunch of ants going up the side of the hill carrying all this debris up there. Now, I've been looking for those crosses, and I talk about these crosses in some of my past shows, and I believe, because of all that, I believe that the city of Phoenix later on, in the last, give or take 50 years, destroyed the crosses, because I believe the crosses were on the east side. Now, since then, all that has happened, the city of Phoenix has came out with 2 maps. One saying the crosses are on the east side. One saying the crosses are in the middle of South Mountain. Now, I've been to both sides. I've been looking for these crosses all my life. I've been looking for them, for 20 years, not all my life, but I've been looking for them ever since I started, searching South Mountain and doing the history there. I've been looking for these crosses. And I can tell you, it's my opinion that the city of Phoenix blew up those crosses, and they were located on the east side of Phoenix. And the city of Phoenix wiped out a lot of the east side of South Mountain back in the day, about 50 years ago. And now they put houses there. They put a Rustler's Roost bar and grill up there, and stuff like that, and they made a lot of golf courses. And those of you who have been following my past shows know that the east side of South Mountain, where all these golf courses are actually Indian burial grounds. That's where the cemeteries were, on the east side of South Mountain, all along those areas. When you look at South Mountain from Google Earth, you can see all these golf courses, and you can see all the houses that's on the east side there. That's all burial grounds from the Native Americans. Now, when this was being all constructed and blown up and done, redid over again, and the houses being put in, the Native Americans were pissed. They were picketing the construction workers, and they were picketing the people who play golf up there, saying, "Curse the people who play on our, Indian burial grounds." They were pissed off. Now, that's a very hard subject to find. I found that in Charles Holbrook's folder there, in the South Mountain folder. And I did learn that the daughter of the manager, of the owner, the owner's daughter of Wrestler's Roost, the restaurant that's up there on the east side of South Mountain now, his daughter is now manager. And so I went up there to try to get an interview with her. And she doesn't want to have anything to do with me. So they do not want to open up that can of worms again, because it was a bad thing. The Indians were pissed, and I don't blame them, dude. And it doesn't mention anything that they removed the bones. So these people are living and playing on these ancient burial grounds and don't even know it. All of this is documented. I found the maps in the folders of South Mountain in the Arizona room. I made copies of it, so yeah. So they all went back to their homeland. They're never to return in this valley. And that's basically what happened to the Hohokam. Now, Jack Swelling came over the mountains, him and his army, in the 1800s, and looked down and saw the Hohokam canals and the Hohokam buildings and structures and hogans and stuff, and thought to himself, what a great place, to build a farmland, They first settled out there in Mesa. Mesa was the first area, farming point location. They called it, Mesa Phoenix? Phoenix Mesa? West Mesa? Something like that. Mesa Verde? I forget the name. It's in my book. That's what the book is for, right? And so the east side of this valley known as Phoenix now actually was Mesa. That's where everything started at. And so it was Jack Swelling. Jack Swelling, now he wasn't a very good guy. He was a kind of a bad guy. He killed a few people, and he was in the Spanish-American War, I believe. And then he ended up, he wasn't a very good guy in the beginning, and he actually got accused of committing murder of someone that he actually didn't do. He really didn't commit that murder. He was really innocent of that murder, and they locked him in jail anyway, and he ended up dying in jail. So it was kind of like a I don't know. It's like kind of justice was being served, even though Jack didn't really kill that guy. The murders that he got away with, karma caught up with him. But it was, Jack Swelling that got it all started again, And that's how Phoenix came to be. So now they call it Phoenix, the city that rolls out from the formal civilization. But they failed to tell you what this formal civilization was. And the evidence and the history is carved on the mountains like scrolls around the Valley of the Sun. Okay. Now that I got that out of my system, let's get on with the announcements. Okay. Vulture City Paracon Part 2. Let me raise. Man, we can see the landscapers outside the studio there. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but they are out there outside of the studio. Okay. Vulture City Paracon Part 2, Wickenburg, Arizona, October 8th, 9th, and 10th, 2001. Going to be doing a ghost hunt out there, and first time ever sky watch. Okay, let's let this landscaper behind me get past so you won't hear his air blower. So yeah, lots of great speakers out there. Come and join us. Wickenburg, Arizona, out there at Vulture City, Paracon Part 2. I was out there in the first one, and we talked about the Phoenix Lights. And I do my own paranormal ghost hunt also, so I'm into paranormal stuff. And a matter of fact, those of you who are following my YouTube page, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, there's links on my videos at the very bottom that will bring you to my paranormal investigation ghost group. So yeah, come on out, Vulture City. Contact Jay and Marie Yates, great people, and contact them for tickets. Tickets are going fast. All right, so get a hold of them or Vulture City in Wickenburg, Arizona. Ask for the tickets. Get your tickets in advance and come on out. Let's do a meet and greet. Let's talk about the Phoenix Lights. Let's talk about your UFO experience. Let's do a ghost hunt investigation together. And let's also, first time ever at this Paracon, do a sky watching event together. You know, Jay's been in contact with me for many years, and he's always telling me, yeah, there's lights out there, dude. There's lights out there. And why? Why is that? You know, one thing that I didn't really get into as far as why South Mountain is so special, why these creatures are hanging around this mountain so much, is because of the fault line. The fault line, this mountain was made by the fault line that's under the earth. That's under the mountain there. And this is the reason why these beings are going into the mountain. Yes, they are going into the mountain. And the Native Americans say they're going into the underworld, but on a scientific analysis, they're going down into that fault line and they're absorbing the energy. This has been going on for thousands of years, probably since the beginning of time. This is the reason why these entities are attracted to certain spots around the earth to these energy points. And those of you who have been following my past shows know that they like the equinox and the solstice, and it's a pattern. Once you figure out that pattern, when the sun changes in the sky, it aligns with these fault lines and it opens up these doorways. That's why they call them spiral doorways. It opens up these energy field doorways and attracts these beings to these energy sources. This is why we see a lot of UFOs in one area, but we don't see any UFOs in that area. Because there's no energy over there. They're following the energy. They're following where the sun is going. During the equinox and the solstice, when the sun changes position in the sky, these creatures, these entities follow the sun. They follow the sun towards the next energy spot. So they're over here in Phoenix, you know, for like maybe the summer months, and then after that equinox or the solstice, then they're over there in Florida, or they're over there on the other side of the world. They're in Paris, they're in Russia, they're in Afghanistan, wherever, you know. And then after the equinox, the sun moves, and so do these beings. So yes, the reason why Vulture City is seeing the lights out there is because they're sitting on a fault line. There's a fault line right there. So yeah, there's a very good chance that we are going to see some UFO activity, and even a better chance of capturing some ghost activity out there at Vulture City Mines, Paracon Part 2, Wickenburg, Arizona. Get your tickets today. Contact Jay and Marie Yates here on Facebook. Great people. Okay, here is my my ghost channel. It's called Haunted Encounter Adventures. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and also hit me up on Facebook, Haunted Encounter Adventures, and let's talk about ghosts, and you can see a lot of paranormal activity that I've been doing there. Okay, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, the only one. Okay, this is 17 years or so of research of South Mountain. Let me get it real quick. Okay, so in this book, it talks about the history of Phoenix. And it's, like I said, it's not just hearsay. It's actual photographs. It is photographs. Look at that. You can see the photographs here. This book is full of petroglyphs and information about the history of Phoenix, Arizona. And it's, you know, it's not just hearsay. This is all documented stuff. This is stuff that has been told in the last 80 years. Because after Charles Holbrook died, all of his information was buried in the government department in that folder in the Arizona room for 80 years. And so, and you know, the reasons why is because they don't want people going out there and digging up the gold and digging up the tombs and understanding what the Phoenix Lights really is and understand what these beings are. You know, they don't want to panic the people, because once you understand what is going on here, once you understand the petroglyphs, once you understand what these beings are, you understand the history, that the history of these beings are actually what led to the downfall of mankind each and every time the Hopis say the world changes. Each time we enter a new world, these beings are here to, you know, not only help and guide, but to mislead humans into thinking that they're gods. And in fact, they are not gods. They are the wrong gods. And this is what happened in the past. So this is why I'm saying there will never be disclosure. They will never tell you what's really here, because it's a scary thing. If the government came out and said, you know what's over there on South Mountain, flying serpents and lights, and this is what happened to the people, the Hohokam people got taken away by the Phoenix Lights, how many people would still be living in that valley? You know, the Indians that used to live there cursed the land. You know, if people really understood this, how many people would actually be living there? You know, because now the lights are back. You know, we're seeing the lights now. We're seeing a whole lot of UFOs now. Why? Because they know we're about ready to enter another world. And every time the world changes, these beings are here to interact with mankind, to mislead mankind, and to man, treating them as gods. For instance, let's say that there's no food, there's no water. The air is polluted, but yet this light, this entity comes down from the sky. He shapeshifts, he changes into a man, and he's able to perform all these miracles. And he's like, look what I can do for you. I am the one that you've been waiting for 2,000 years. Worship me. I am the one that you've been waiting for. And mankind will be forced into worshiping this false god, if you will, because of the miraculous miracles he can do, because he can fly, because he can go down into the mountains, because he can change and shapeshift, because he has powers. Because when he talks, he can break mountains with his voice. You see? All this stuff that we read in some of these ancient scrolls and you know, the Sumerian texts, as far as the Anunnaki, and some of these scrolls that we read in some of these ancient texts, you know, that was written, you know, 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, it tells us what these beings are. Okay, and when we read these texts, and then we go out to some of these mountains around the planet, around the Earth, we can see the photographs. They're prehistoric photographs of what these ancient texts are talking about. That is where the credibility lies at. Okay, that is credible, right? We verify something that's been written 6,000 years ago. We see the markings on the rocks now that are talking about the exact same thing that are writing that's been written, and now we see the things for our own eyes. This is credible. That is credible evidence on what these beings are. And for someone to say that they're spaceships from Alpha Centauri, there's no credibility in that. There's no evidence in that. It's just a hearsay. It's just a theory. Okay? But where the evidence lies is the petroglyphs and what we read on some of these ancient manuscripts, some of these ancient walls that talk about these beings of the sky, earth, and sky that come down from heaven, right? Interact with mankind, okay? That's where it is. That's why they're never going to tell you what's really here. They don't want to scare you, and plus, they're going to admit that's when they're going to admit that, yeah, these things are here. And, you know, they're not from another planet. That this is their world also. They have always been here. The Native Americans have always said that to us. They go up on the mountains to talk to the spirits. Duh. These things have always been here. They've been here before man. This is their planet also. And for the last 1,000 years, they slowly have been coming out because they've been in dormant for the last thousands or more years. After the Hohokam disappeared, they have been dormant. now because we're about ready to enter another world. This world that we live in now is about to be destroyed, is about to be gone, and these creatures know this. They don't know the time or date on when this will happen, but they understand that it's getting closer. And this is the reason why we're seeing more and more of these beings, these watchers in the sky. This is why we're seeing them now in the sky for so many years now, and more is coming, right? You know that. Oh my God, this is why the government's finally admitting that there's something here, because there are more and more of these beings in the sky, and more people are seeing them, and they're not believing the conspiracies. They're like, wait a minute, dude. And now they're just over the last 15 years or so, they're coming to conclusions. Wait a minute, these are not crafts at all. These are living creatures. These are living beings. And I've been saying that ever since 2005 when I first discovered this. But yet, the public isn't ready for this. You're filming some bizarre stuff, Jeff. The public isn't ready for this. But over the years, man, people are writing me and sending me videos and saying, dude, I saw a flying serpent. It looks exactly what you filmed. Or I saw this flying diamond, or I saw these orbs and they're shape-shifting. I got some pretty good video. I'm going to show you a video today. That was filmed in Mexico, and also from a lady in Texas. Her name is Rachel Wise, and her and her son live in 7 Points, Texas. Now, those of you who are familiar with Texas know that the Mafia Lights, there's a lot of activity. The Phoenix Lights are there too, but they call them the Mafia Lights. So we're going to be showing her video, which is spectacular, and we're going to be showing another video in Mexico, which is just incredible too. And you'll soon realize, look, these are not crafts, right? What we're dealing with here are not spaceships. It's not technology. These are living creatures. These are living beings. Okay. And that's basically what this book talks about. It's not a normal UFO book. It talks about the lost history of Phoenix. It shows you the tombs. You can go on my website. Those of you who are following me on my YouTube channel, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, there you can find links to my website, and you can see that I show you a photograph of a tomb that I discovered out there. And there you can find out where to get my book. You can get these on Barnes & Noble and ebooks, stuff like that, and eBay. And I don't make any money from this, because a lot of people are the only reason why they're into this type of field is to make money. And that's not what I'm all about at all. I'm not about money. I'm about giving this proven evidence to you. I'm bringing this proven facts evidence to your hands, to your understanding what's here. I want you to take a second look at the possibilities of what I'm saying here, because I've been doing this for so many years now. I've been talking the talk and walking the walk for so many years, and I can back up everything that I talk about. Okay, not only from the history, from the sky watching, from the articles and from the documents in the Phoenix Library. I mean, everything. All right, this is all credible evidence. It's not hearsay from someone trying to make you believe that a spaceship went over Phoenix in 1997. I mean, because I've been to study that. I can't find any evidence of that. And nothing, if something doesn't make sense, then it's not credible. So we have no evidence of that. If something flew over Phoenix and thousands of witnesses, and there's no videos of this, but only 4 people witnessing lights on the west side of Phoenix, Arizona, that's where the credibility is. That's where the credibility lies at. Not somebody trying to make money and make money off a book about themselves and telling a book about nothing, and showing movies and Harkins Theater and trying to make you believe something that is just a hearsay. This is credible stuff. And I don't make any money from this. I told the publishers to give my proceeds of the books to the foster kids in Phoenix, Arizona. So that's where that goes. I don't make any money from that. Okay, so let's get into some of this here. All right, so this is on South Mountain here. All right, so when you look at the petroglyphs, this is on Holbrook Trail. When you look at the petroglyphs, you're supposed to look at the whole landscape, okay? Not just not just the art, but the whole landscape, okay? Because the Native Americans, the artist, he's putting the landscape in with the art. Okay, so in this photograph here, this is on Holbrook Trail on South Mountain. You can see that I'm pointing to a pyramid hill out there. Okay, that's just one pyramid. Let's put this aside over here for a minute. Let's move it up. All right, let's put that there. Okay. Now, here's the other hill. You can see over my head there. There's like another hill. So I'm pointing to a hill on the east side. Now there's a hill on the east. I'm sorry, to the west side. And that hill's right behind me. Let me move it up for you. Okay. So we have two hills. All right, now when we look at this petroglyph here, okay, and this serpent here, right? I'll show you more of the petroglyph here later. But my point is on this one here, it's showing two pyramids. Look at the two pyramids there, okay? And so that is the pyramids out here. Here's another photograph there. This is what I'm talking about. See the two pyramids? This is Holbrook Trail. South Mountain, Phoenix, Arizona. Okay. So we have the petroglyph there with the yellow arrow, and it's like a snake. Okay, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But right now we're concentrating on the two humps of this snake petroglyph, and the snake petroglyph is actually talking about the two humps when you step back from the petroglyph, because this is carved right in front of these two pyramids. Okay, it's right there in front, but more on the west side of the pyramid or of the two mountains there. Now it's this rock art is right in front of the arrow of the pyramid here that I'm pointing at, the two arrows there. So that's where this rock art is talking about. But when you step back, you can clearly see that the snake is making two humps. And the two humps is the two pyramids in the background. Now, here is the petroglyph. Here's the whole petroglyph. Let me move it up so you can see it more. There we go. Okay, so let's look at that. So we have the two pyramids here. The snake is making the two pyramid hills. And then we have a sun. Let's move this up. Let's look at the petroglyph a little bit closer here. Let's examine this. Okay. All right, we have that sun, able to see through the spirits. Okay, well it looks like a sun, but it's the creature. So what this art is telling us is when this being is coming over these two pyramids, you can first kind of see through him. He's like a spirit. Now he's over the pyramids, he's over the hills, over the fault line energy, and he's more solid. He's now in solid form. See that? And then when he's leaving the area, he's back to a spirit. He's back to a ghost. And that's how these things like, I witnessed this. When they're up there in the sky and they start to come down on the mountain, they're like, first they're solid. And then when they go down onto the mountain, when they get closer to the mountain, you can see through them. They're like a ghost. No wonder the Native Americans call them spirits, because you can actually see through them. First they're solid, they're coming down, and now you can see through them, okay? And then they're moving slowly, man, and they absorb themselves into the rock. I've witnessed this many times. I've videotaped this. I have this on film. I've seen this. They're coming and going from South Mountain over there. Now, look at this in the middle here. Let's concentrate on the pyramid there that I'm pointing at above my head here. Okay, now see that arrow there? The bottom arrow? of that pyramid. Let's just concentrate on that pyramid right there. All right, so whoop, that's the wrong pyramid. Sorry guys, my bad. So let's make a better example here. All right, so this pyramid to the west, the right of your screen. This one here. Okay, so that pyramid there, that carving there, that pyramid carving is talking about this hill here. Okay, to the right of your screen. Now, look at this thing in the middle, under that pyramid. See where that arrow is pointing at? Possible tomb chamber inside this hill. You see that there? See how there's like something there under this pyramid hill? Now, I've been to that mountain there. I've climbed all around that mountain, that little hill, which could possibly be a man-made hill. It could be. I don't see any evidence that was natural. These two hills here could very well be man-made hills. Maybe not the one on the left, but this one here in the middle, that's for sure. That's interesting. Okay, that's a pyramid. And I've been on the other side of this pyramid, on the south side of that pyramid. I found the entrance to a tomb. There is a tomb there, and that's exactly what this petroglyph is talking about. Right under that pyramid there, it's talking about a tomb inside that pyramid. Now, I found the entrance to that tomb. It's covered up full of boulders. You can't get into it, but it's there. Holbrook Trail. If you guys are ever on Holbrook Trail, look at these two pyramids that I'm talking about here. You'll see it. The west side. The one on the west. The one on the right hand of your screen. There's a pyramid. There's a tomb inside that. There could possibly be one on the east side, that far pyramid over there. I didn't find any evidence of that, but I did find evidence that there is a tomb here. And so this is exactly what this petroglyph is talking about. It's saying when these entities, when these spirits come across these two hills, this fault line, these pyramid energy, they're first like a spirit form. Then they come over, and now they're solid, because that's why look how carved, look how solid that petroglyph is right there. Spirit is now solid form. Spirit is now leaving and can see through him as he leaves. And you can. That's why they call it spirits. Not spaceships, not crafts, but spirits. And that's exactly what is going on here. This is how you understand the petroglyphs, is you have to include the whole landscape in with the art. And once you understand that, once you realize all this, then you can get a better understanding on what these petroglyphs are trying to talk about. Because these glyphs are here for you and me. It's for us to understand. They're for us. These petroglyphs is for our generation. Because we are seeing it. We are seeing now. We're seeing the lights. We're seeing these UFOs. So in order to understand our future and what it all means, we must understand the past. We have to understand the past. And the past says that these creatures, these spirits of the earth and sky, have always been here with us. They're always here. And they're recently now just starting to come out of their dormant, coming out and being in our world again, because they know the time is close. Are we going to see it in our generation? I don't know. Are we going to see it in our lifetime? I don't know. I mean, look at what's going on in the world. It's very crazy going on. No wonder these things are flying around, right? So much BS is going on in our world today. So it's only obvious why these creatures are here watching us. They're waiting. That's why they're not coming down and making contact now, is because if they did that, it would be headline news for a while. But then people have to go back to their business, go to school, go to work, blah, blah, blah. They have their own life. We don't need these beings anymore. We don't, at least right now. We don't need them. We do not need them. So they are waiting in the sky and following the sun, using the energy, absorbing the energy, and waiting for when mankind needs them once again. This is why, when mankind starts to start war with each other, like World War II, they're chasing around the Foo Fighters, the Gulf War, oh my God, these lights are everywhere, and things like this. Every time mankind starts to war with each other, right? Make war. These things are there, man. They're watching. They're waiting. Is this the time where mankind's going to destroy each other and then they need us again? Right? That's the agenda. That is what's going on. Okay, here's the petroglyph on South Mountain. You can see this guy being carried away by a barbell. He's either hanging on for dear life or he's playing with them in the sky. But either way, I mean, this guy's hanging on to this barbell, dude. Look at that. Barbell's in the sky. We have an orb right there. We have another orb. 2 orbs. There's a man. Look at that. This is in the middle of South Mountain. I can't remember where exactly. Maybe 32nd Street. High up. Isn't that neat? That is a prehistoric photograph of a UFO sighting, of what actually took place. I mean, they're just not up there, making graffiti or something. They're telling a story, man. They're carving something significant to remember, to be told through generation and generation, for our generation or possibly the next generation. So we are here to understand it. So if it doesn't happen in our lifetime, maybe our kids' lifetime, we will get this information out. So by the time, stuff's really hitting the fan, they will come back at this information and they'll understand what's about to happen. And yes, it's a scary thing. I'm not going to lie to you. It's scary. This is stuff that the government isn't going to tell you. If I thought they were here to help us cure cancer, give us food, make life a better place, I'd tell you that. If the evidence would suggest that, I'd be telling you that. But all the evidence and credibility is leading me on this one path, and it's saying this is not good. Now, there are good ones out there. There's a lot of myths and stories and things that we read in the scrolls. Talk about these good entities, these good creatures, whatever you want to call them, these good beings. Some of the stories in India talks about the Vietnamese, how there was a war between the good ones and the bad ones, and mankind was their trophies. Obviously, the good ones won because we're here not being enslaved anymore by the bad ones. All right, so all over Phoenix, there's art. We find art all over Phoenix, Arizona from Mahocom. Look at this guy here. This is pretty interesting. This is on one of the freeway bridges. Isn't that neat? Now look at his head there. You see that? So if that's supposed to be, some kind of man with a headdress, I mean, that's pretty crazy. So actually what we're looking at here is, look at the bow tie. Look at his body. You see that? It's like a barbell. You see that right there? Look at that. Look at his body there. You see that? This is a UFO entity. This is a creature. Okay? It's that barbell formation that I was telling you about. And then on top is a light. Those aren't feathers. That's not a headdress. That isn't an orb with the light. Those are light rays. You understand it now? Do you understand? This is your third eye looking at this now. You have to interpret what this art is telling you about. The art is saying that this this barbell right here, there's actually two UFOs going on here. We have the body, which is a barbell or a bow tie. Then we have that line. Remember that line I was telling you about? The line, or some people would consider maybe a neck. And it's coming up from that light in the sky. Look at the light. You see this? You see the brightness? Like a starburst? You understand this now? Let's look at this. Let's examine this here for a minute. His head is a light. It's a starburst. He's a light. You can see the rays coming off of him. Down from that light, from his, I guess we want to call it a neck, is attaching to this bow tie or barbell. Now look at his legs. Do you see his legs there? That is a symbol for energy. That is an energy symbol. Those legs like that. Some of them are actually lightning bolts. But that bent legs, if you will, is a symbol for energy. So we have the light and the barbell, the bow tie, and the legs for energy. You see that? See how it, see when you start looking at this Indian art in this way, it makes sense. They're telling us here. Let's move on. Here we go. Look at this. This is on the one of the freeways in Phoenix, Arizona. You see, what is it? Mountains. And look at the one in the middle. Uh-oh. Is something buried in that mountain there, in that pyramid? Are we looking at one of the pyramids in Gaza? Or Gaza? In Egypt? Look at that. It's telling us. Look at the art. He's telling us there's a chamber inside that pyramid hill. See? See the mountains? Uh-oh. But this mountain is special. This pyramid is special because it's concealing a tomb. Get it? Didn't we just talk about that on Holbrook Trail? When we start looking at this art in such a way, when we use our third eye, I guess, when you understand, when you connect all the dots together, it makes sense. So this whole time, man, all this art out there in Phoenix, sure, it's Native American art, and sure, it's all gravy, it's neat, I love it, but it's symbols, right, of spirals and serpents. Oh my God. Right? Look at that. See, that's a serpent, and he's in a spiral, and the spiral is going what? Counterclockwise? And the spiral is ending up, meaning up in the sky. So the spiral is a doorway. So there's two meanings here. Three meanings? Three meanings to this. It's a spiral, it's a doorway. He's going counterclockwise, so it's a doorway out. He's ending up, which is a doorway in the sky, a vortex, and it's a serpent. So what? That's four meanings with this art here. All right, you get it? Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, the doorway, the vortex. It's all there. It's all there in this symbol here. You just have to understand it. And look, does he have a diamond? Yeah, look at that. See that? And that's gonna be like a weird snake head anyway, right? I mean, This one's cool. A little horse. That's neat. And you know what? I mean, that's a horse. Right? And how can you tell that's a horse? Some of my other shows, I explain, because there's a lot of animals out there that are not really animals. This is their creatures. They're spirits, because these spirits, these UFOs, these entities, these UAPs morph and they shapeshift. Sometimes they look like animals, and the arts up there on South Mountain or around the valley are depicting these shape-shifting entities. And they look like animals, okay? And the archaeologists, they call them anthropomorphs. All right, anthropomorphs. And so, and how you can tell about these anthropomorphs, that they are anthropomorphs, is the way their feet are aligned. So their front foot is facing regular, but their back foot is backwards. That is how you know that this is not a normal animal. It may look like a sheep, but there's lines in the belly, all right, and their feet are separate. Their feet are going in opposite directions. That is an anthropomorph. That is a spirit of the earth and sky. That is a UFO. That is a UAP. That's how we can understand the petroglyphs out there. So when we see a coyote like this, we know that the artist is trying to say, that's just a coyote, guys, because of his feet. Because of his feet. His feet are going in the same direction. So that is a regular animal. Here we go again. Look at this here. So some would say, oh, it's rain. It's rain clouds. But look at it, man. It's 3 orbs, 3 lights, 3 UFO orbs coming out of the ground, coming up, because we can see the lines on the bottom there. The lines are coming out of the ground. These orbs in a pyramid. Hello? Pyramid. Orbs in a pyramid coming out of the ground. And look how it's faced. Okay, look at the angle on that. Okay, look at the angle. Whoops. Okay. Look at the angle on the line. See the line there? And then see the angle of the lines on the bottom? It's like a pyramid, right? It's like a valley. It's like a canyon, right? So on the very bottom, we can see the outline of 2 pyramids. And these orbs are coming out from between the 2 pyramids. Between the 2 pyramid mountains. Between the 2 between that little valley there, that little gap. Those lines are angled. Get it? They're angled. So it's representing 2 hills, 2 pyramid hills. The line in the middle, center, it's coming up. The line on the top there, that's the ground. So it's coming up out of these energy areas. 3 pyramids and a hill. Or 3 pyramids, 3 orb pyramids. And then we have the guys floating in the sky. You see that? Now here we have, this is on Holbrook Trail also. So we have a spiral, and a lot of people would think that that is a whale. So I'm sure many people over the years has considered that a whale. But what the hell is a whale doing in the desert, right? Why would that be a whale in the desert? Well, let's examine this for a minute. See, we have the spiral, and he's connected to that spiral. That door or that whale is connected to that spiral. So the whale is coming out of that door. And then we have what looks like a lizard man to the right of it. Then we have more spirals there to the right of your screen there. We have a spiral. But that whale, a lot of people would say, why is there a whale? And this is carved high up on the ridge. Okay, Holbrook Trail, facing north. High up on a hill. Okay, and see the crack? Doorway. See that crack up there is a doorway. Now here's that whale. This is what I filmed. That photograph there. That's a still photograph of what I filmed in the sky. And it matches that UFO there. Petroglyphs in the sky. Those of you who have been following me have seen that UFO sighting, and maybe I'll show it again in the near future. That's a still photograph, UFO entity, or UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon. But I think now, since you all are all tuned in, we all know what these AUPs are now, or UFOs. They're living beings. They're living creatures. They're not spaceships. Not spaceships at all. These things are alive. And they demonstrate that as they are in the sky. And a lot of people are dismissing these sightings because they think they're balloons, you know, or they think they're flares. Or they think they're Chinese lanterns. Look at this again here. So, oh, there goes the whale. See? I took those off prematurely. See the whale there? See the head of the whale? See that? Exact whale formation UFO entity that we just saw carved on South Mountain. See that? These are not crafts at all. These are living entities who shapeshift. Look at this here. This is these these lights here, or these lights. This art here is on these light streetlights that are on Central Avenue heading towards South Mountain. So while you're on South Mountain and you're heading towards, when you're on Central Avenue, downtown Phoenix, and you're on Central and you're heading towards South Mountain, you see all these symbols in the sky. Look, we have to look up to see them. You see that? We have to look up to see them. You see the orb in the middle, and it's bright. Sees it's a starburst. Then the guy in the middle, he's in the appeasement pose. He's like worshiping these beings. We have what? Look at that thing right above that guy's head there. It's like a deer or something, and then that star there. But he's all in this orb. He's in the orb. He's in the belly of an orb. And the orb, look at the bottom, look at his legs. See the energy there? See the bent legs? See the energy symbols there? Now look at the lines coming around that black orb. Okay, so he's sparkling. He's sparkling. Is he a light? Could be. And all these things are in the belly. Is in the middle of this orb. You see the symbolism in all this? You understand this now? This being is taken away. This man, this sheep, and there's like a star in the middle, I guess. But it's all in the middle. This orb, this black orb, or maybe light, because it is sparkling. It does have the starburst on the right side, and it's got the energy symbols on the bottom. When you start looking at this art in a certain way, it all makes sense. Look at that there. See the spiral and the X there and the mountains on the right and the demon. Look at that. See that? Weren't we just talking about giants? Or is this one talking about Bigfoot? Is this a Bigfoot? Is this Sasquatch? There's a lot of Native American interpretations about Sasquatch. Look at the feet. Look at that. Look at the feet. Look at the hands. And look at the feet, the markings, the footprints. Isn't that what everybody is saying now about Bigfoot? Because they're following the footprints? Is that an old ancient carving of Bigfoot here in Phoenix, Arizona? Could be. Could very well be. Okay, let's get into these UFO sightings. All right, so first one we're going to talk about was filmed in Seven Points, Texas. And it was Rachel Wise' son who filmed this UFO, this being in the sky. Now, I did as much as I could to enhance the video. I did as best as I could, but it was filmed by a cell phone, and you know, it's really hard to zoom in with cell phones and things like that. Let's go ahead and play this. But here is what it looks like up close. Here's what this being looks like. Now, this is filmed by Rachel or Raquel Wise in Seven Points, Texas, by her son. Now, I always try to, you know, I always carry a video camera with me wherever I go. I always have a high-powered video camera with me wherever I go, because you never know when you're going to see these things. So you always want to be ready. And, you know, cell phones are all great and groovy, but they're just not really, you know, equipped for filming UFOs. So, you know, it's hard to zoom in and this and that. So I always, you know, tell people, you know, try to make sure that if you're going to film these things, you know, have a camera with it. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, people don't know they're going to see a UFO, and so they don't have a camera with them. But this is why I always carry a camera. I always have a camera with me, whether it's in my fanny pack when I'm hiking, or in the car when I'm driving, doing grocery store errands, whatever it is. I always make sure I carry a video camera with me, and then I upload it to a computer, and then from there I upload it to Facebook or YouTube. Then we can get a better description or a better idea on what we're looking at. But this thing is great. This thing is clearly alive. And the right side picture is what it looks like up close. So that's great. That's great video. Thank you so much for the Wise family, and many thanks to her son out there in Seven Points, Texas. You guys did great. Send me more UFO videos. Anybody who wants me to talk about their UFO sightings, send me your videos. I'd love to talk about them. And yeah, So that's just great. Thank you guys so much for sending this video to me. You guys did a great job, and thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Now let's take a look. Dun, dun, dun. Let's take a look at this one crazy sighting out here in Mexico. Okay, are you ready for this? Are you ready? Are your eyes ready to witness what's really here? What can be proven? Not fake UFO videos of crafts and aliens living in closets. Are you ready for this? Because here it is. Because they told me in 2005, the public is not ready for this type of UFO, Jeff. You're filming some bizarre stuff, and the public is not ready for this. Oh, really? Well, you better get ready for it. I discovered it here in the United States in 2005, and so, you know, this is what's going on, people. This is what's going on, and these people filmed it in 2009. Look at this. Look at what's going on your screen. This is real. This is what we are. This is what we need to be looking for. Okay? Look at this stuff. This is the stuff that is here. This is, you know, what is described on the rocks, on the rock art. This is what the petroglyphs depict. Look at that. Is that crazy or what? This is what's truly here, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I'm talking about. Crazy stuff, man. Look at that. Look what's on your screen. Look what's in the skies. Look what's on the petroglyphs. And examine how it moves. This is crucial. Look how it's moving. Look how it's moving. Study that. Study how it's moving ever so slowly. See that? Look at that. Look how it's moving. This is what we want to be looking for. This is what's here, ladies and gentlemen. Not aliens from another planet. I mean, I wish, you know, we could find evidence of that, and I'm not saying that they're not here, but I'm just saying, look, this is what can be proven. Not only in the skies that we see for our own eyes, but also what's carved on the rocks. The exact same type of symbols. Is that incredible or what? That is just spectacular. Look at that creature. This thing is alive. This is real. This is in not only Mexico skies, but our skies also. Not only here in the United States, but all over the world. This is what's here. This is what has always been here. That is just incredible. Look at that thing. Examine how it moves. Study this. And when you see something like this in the sky, understand this is not balloons. This is not trash. This thing is alive. Look how it's calculating each move. Look at this. That is incredible. And we have way more to come. Way more stuff is going to be starting to show up in the next few years. This is just the tip of the iceberg, because I was filming these things in 2005, and now it's just getting more and more of them. And it's like a little mini UFO invasion that's going on here. A lot of people don't understand this because a lot of people aren't looking for them. But once you start looking for them and understand their pattern, and you also have to be in the right spot. So a lot of people contact me, well, I haven't seen a UFO. Well, where do you live at? You know, first of all, if you want to hunt these things down, Find out your history of the land that you live on. See what the Indians say. See if there's a mountain around there that's special to the Indians. Find the petroglyph symbols of spirals. Once you find these spirals on these rocks, on the mountains, that is the source. That is the key on where to see these creatures. And also, you have to stay it for a whole year because there's a pattern. And once you understand that pattern, then you'll be able to understand when to see them. Because like I said before, they come in a pattern of the equinox and solstice. Okay? And so just because you don't see them now, wait until after the equinox or wait until after the solstice. Keep going out there. Don't give up. And just because you're out there for one day and you don't see one, that doesn't mean anything. I've been doing this for many years. All right, and it takes dedication. It takes a lot of patience and a lot of dedication. And once you have this and you're obligated to this, then you will see them. And when you do, make sure you use a video camera, because this is the type of stuff that can be analyzed and show how the object leaves. There's so many people out there faking UFO videos. They don't show how the object leaves and things like this, so that's another indication on how somebody, is faking videos, is if they cut it off and they don't want to show you how the object leaves. This video, I'm sure, is very long. This object, this entity creature is up there for a very long time, so they edited it down, they cut it down into pieces, because I'm sure we don't want to sit there and watch an hour-long film. So that's the reason why they edited this down. But I can assure you that this is the real stuff. This is real UFO activity, UAPs, UFO entities, creatures. They're there for the fault lines. They're there for the energy. Is that something or what? That is incredible. That is just something that is what we've been looking at for all these years. This is what the petroglyphs depict. See that? That is just incredible. This is what we want to look for. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Rachel Wise and your son, for giving me that video. You guys are awesome. Please send me more of your guys' UFO videos, and anybody out there that wants me to analyze your UFO videos and show them on the show, please send them to me. Let me see your petroglyphs. And that'll wrap it up for today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, YouTube channel. Make sure it says Phoenix Lights in front of it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining and watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.